Yo, 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 welcome to another episode of Rugby Swag. We got a great show for you today. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. We're going to be talking straight up Olympics. It is the one thing I just want to talk about. Wanted to talk about it last week. Just didn't have the opportunity to be able to do it. But you know what? We're finally here. We finally got it. I hope you're ready for this great episode because we're going to be doing and looking back at everything that this Olympics had to bring, and it was so much. Oh my gosh, it was so much. I can't wait to talk about it with you. Yo, this is the Gift Egbelu, but of course, yo, we got to hit that intro. Yo, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time.
Welcome to the Rugby Swag Show. Welcome to Rugby Swag. My name is Gift Time Egbelu, and of course, this is a show where we talk to people about the things they've found, discovered, or created from via rugby, as well as what is going on in the news and what is keeping us going on with the growth of rugby overall. Y'all, this was an amazing last 2 weeks of rugby. I think it's one of the best presentations of rugby that we could have, and it's probably the most impactful amount of rugby that has come out in the 3 Olympics that have come in the umpteenth decades of rugby that we've had, 100 years, obviously, of rugby that we had. I think this might be one of the most significant, if not the most significant, rugby event that has happened in our time. But look, before we go full talking about it, y'all, I need y'all to absolutely remember that I need you guys, if you guys are watching, please, if you can, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. If you're watching through the podcast, hey, man, we got something a little separate for you. But through YouTube, absolutely, on Gift Time Rugby, want to have the engagement with you. Of course, if you are watching live, absolutely can comment on this and be able to be a part of the conversation, be a part of the show. Hey, I want to make sure that you know that I appreciate you guys. I know it's been a long time, been a few weeks, but it's okay. This is what we do, all right? This is exactly what we do. And, of course, if you guys want to be able to keep up with us on a regular day basis, especially like I did for the Olympics this year, we're going to try and obviously do more content as I always try and do, but it's always about trying to get it done. You try till you do, and then you do until you let the smell get out of the way. I don't know what I'm saying. But you can catch us on social media, on Instagram at Rugby Swag Show, on X at Gift Egbelu, and then on any other platform that's Facebook, obviously YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. You can find us at Gift Time Rugby, GIFTTIME Rugby. All right. So we got obviously just an amazing show that's going on. But of course, if you're only able to listen, please check us and tell your friends about it. Please let your friends know to be able to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and basically any major streaming platform that is available to you that for audio. You guys, we try and be everywhere you are, so you don't have to work too hard to find us. We just need to make sure we get there. But y'all, this was such a great Olympics. I really had a legit joy of being able to find it. Just straight up, congratulations, USA women's, just the bronze. It is such a game changer, and we're going to talk a lot more about it. But this is something that to be held on to, and I look forward to seeing what this ripple effects is going to be over the next 4 years. But you know, I did wonder, like, if it was going to get received the same way, because each of the last 2 Olympics have all been just slightly different. You know, 2016 was the return of rugby to the Olympics, so the excitement in Brazil was just about the fact that it was existing, but it's like the format was trying to come to form. In 2020, it was the pandemic Olympics. You know, we were all just kind of coming off of the COVID situation. Everybody's around. Even the players had a little bit of a different situation because they couldn't leave too much, which actually helped. And we'll talk about that with the players as well, too. But it really helped with the development that they had. But on top of that, you know, it was a different vibe that you had with it. This was just like, oh, can we survive? The stadiums are empty, just playing to play. This Olympics was the first one that was just a full, pure, unabashed, unadulterated Olympics, able to have the focus, able to have the crowd, and really be able to see what the vision of what this really could be and how this all connects together. And I will say for sure, this one really lived up to its billing, if I say so myself. I truly believe it lived up to the potential, and there is not that there wasn't going to be more to come, but I think there's a really legit pathway that goes from the Olympics to true development and establishment inside countries that have medias that matter, mainly the US, to be honest with you. So, but look, I don't want to hold off too much. Look, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then let's go and talk about what my first real reactions were with the Olympics. We're going to be right back. This is Gift Egbelu, gift time. Egbelu here on Rugby Swag. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back. I'm going to let you get back to the show in a moment, but I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Health Enhanced Foods, the best specialty flours in the business. What does that mean for you? That is the flours that allow you to be able to get the nutritious need from your bread made. That's muffins, bread, croissants, whatever, pancakes and muffins. It will give you the opportunity to be able to get the best while still being able to eat like you wanted to. We have various amounts of products available for those who have special dietary needs to those who are looking for a special health outcome. And of course, because they're part of the Rugby Swag show, we want to let you know that you got a chance to go to healthenhancedfoods.com and use code Rugby Swag to be able to get 20% off your first order. Y'all, this is something that you're going to need. You got to build up, have your energy at the best, be the maximum. It's 2024. Let's do the best. But now I want you guys to get into it. Let's get back to the show. Let's get back to this. All right. So, man, we're back. Initial thoughts about the Olympics. I talked a little bit in the intro, but let's really be specific about this. I truly believe that this was one of the most important Olympic games, not because of the fact it's the Olympics. So every 4 years, it's always a big deal. We know this. Whenever you have a country, it's great to be country to country. But this was the first one. This one was important because this is an Olympics that now made an establishment in the U.S. and made it where we legitimately can see stars being born, really star being born. And we will talk about that with Ileana Mar. I thought that the format for this was great. I don't know if I fully like the fact that the men's competition started before the ceremonies, because there's a bit of a feeling that goes with it that it didn't really feel part of the Olympic Games. Like, unlike the soccer event where they were just doing their pool play and qualifiers before, but the main game is happening like all this week. It doesn't make one feel very part. And I think they got affected by the viewership on that. Like the men's just didn't have as high as the women's. Yet after opening ceremonies, the warm up, the men's played as a warm up, and then subsequently the women's really kicked off from there, which has been a consistency as well too, where the men have not performed as great as the women's has. But I will say in this one, I feel like the men actually showed out. So overall, I think the organization, I think that what they wanted to do with this Olympic Games was a lot more concrete. We could actually see a consistent format. There was consistency in the production. Looks like people really knew what they were doing. There was finally a rhythm that went with the game. One thing that I really did appreciate was that they reduced the butt shots. And don't get me wrong, I love a great butt. All right, but like it was kind of egregious to a point where it was like you're trying to go for leg. What are you trying to do here? Like, we don't need to over sexualize it. We can make this work. And I'm not even saying it just like, progressively. It's like it really didn't need to, but we can make it work. Just don't make it so blatant. And I think they did a good job in making this like an actual athletic event, and that in and of itself makes it a more attractive event for people to want to come to. You almost don't have to force people to go watch rugby sevens. And once people were there, obviously the crowd level was massive. 69,000 for the men's in the crowd, 66,000 for the women's as well. We've seen the results where the trend's going up. Shout out Sam Loves Rugby by putting up the trends chart. and showing like how the reaction and searchability went up as a result of these games as well too. Massive thing. And I think this is bigger than has been done. I feel like it was bigger than it was done from the Rugby World Cup in 2023. I feel like it's definitely bigger than Rugby World Cup sevens. Like I don't even know why we have Rugby World Cup sevens. Like it's I mean, I get it, but the Olympics has far surpassed it as a premium event. Far surpassed it. And on top of that, I think the excitement factor, we really legitimately had difference and variation. I was surprised from the men's side. Obviously, France winning it all, Fiji coming into second place. Like, and we'll talk about that. But like that was actually exciting. It was exciting to know that we don't know who was going to actually take it all. And it wasn't the regular players that were in it. Mind you, Fiji, of course, was still there, but wasn't in it. And then for the women, of course, it was anybody's game. And of course, it became even more surprised. The intensity of every game was really, really felt. So I thought that was something that was genuinely a pleasure to have with this Rugby Sevens format for the Olympics. Made it must-watch TV, even over the course of the 6 hours that it took. In addition to that, I really did feel like we got to see like this was almost a swan song Olympics because of the fact that it had been basically about a decade that we've been with a lot of these players. So to know that so many key players were retiring at the end of this, kind of bringing a mark to this, kind of bringing a demarcation to this specific golden era of rugby sevens was really good to also add to the watch. It showed in the play, it showed in the emotion, and I mean, when you were talking about sports, that's the storylines that you want to have. Like, what is the stakes that are going with it? And I feel like we had a little bit broader of a stake. We had a little bit more specific stakes that were involved. And then I think lastly for me in this was the factor of social media. Obviously, after 2020, World Rugby and the Olympics definitely created a list for the athletes to be able to do of social media challenges to help promote the Olympics and promote the games and promote themselves. If you looked at your timeline, I swear to God, it was just like a repeat of the same thing over and over and over and over again. But again, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not even mad at that being a thing. It's just, so happened to be like same day, same thing, different day, and it was kind of funny because of that. Like, I definitely have appreciated the fact that they were just like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and just, hey, cardboard challenge. How many people, let's tell us about how solid the cardboard beds are so that we don't make people think that the Olympic athletes are sleeping on crap. Or let's do the same outfit challenge and do the challenge to the same song. What's the outfit they're going to have? Oh, let's go take a look at what's going to be given over to these players and go to the outfit place where they can pick out their ceremony and what their jerseys and et cetera were going to be for the Olympics. It was the same thing over and over, but I appreciate that there was a social media strategy that was involved. And again, we also got some personal from it. And obviously very much led off by Ileana with what she's been doing. But again, this was all started from that 2020, 2021 Olympics when they had no choice but to stay in one place the entire time and not be able to do anything. So I did like the coalition. A big negative that I did have, and it's not, I understand it's for the Olympics, but the big negative that I did have was the difficulty in being able to share footage, especially big plays. Like, thankfully it's the Olympic Games, so there's a much greater audience that is paying attention to those games, and the dissemination of the games was far easier. Olympic.org, Olympic.com, wherever, or whatever channel that you had, so you're able to find places, you're able to find the games fairly easily, unlike the Rugby World Cup, who it's difficult to find the games and they don't share very much. But I gotta say, like, it was it was annoying still, it was still really, really annoying. But I gotta say, like, it was, it was good. And then of course, I love the competition that we had. There was bad teams, but even the worst teams, there was, it was just surprising. Like, even with the worst teams that came into this, they still did formidable enough, and the results were uniquely interesting for whatever it's worth. So yeah, dude, let me know what your guys' thoughts were. Like, for me, like I said, the majority of it, I truly enjoyed the Olympics. I truly enjoyed the access. I enjoyed the games. I enjoyed the walkouts. I enjoyed the spectation that they actually put into this. The walkouts were so good. It felt personal. It felt like a big event. Even with the referees, I loved the main referee walking out and picking up the ball on the way out to the pitch and stuff like that. That is spectation. It's very subtle, but it makes everything feel like a big deal. And that's what you want whenever you have these games. It has to always feel like a big mother freaking deal each time you do it. So, I will shout out to them. But let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, whatever. What were your thoughts? What were your initial feelings with the Olympics this year? Did you like this compared to the other two? Did you feel like it fell behind stuff like the Rugby World Cup sevens and Rugby World Cup and HSBC sevens? Like, is there stuff that you felt like should have been more with this? I do think that there could have been a little bit more stories leading into it, but again, I think the social media kind of filled in some blanks along the way if you were able to pay attention. And some of these, God, they're cute, so cute. All right, guys. All right, let's we're gonna move on. All right, man. We're gonna be talking about the men's rugby tournament. A little bit of the results, again, a little bit more detailed in the thoughts, looking over each of the teams, man. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. But in the meantime, we're going to be right back after these commercials. This is Gift Egbelu with Rugby Swag. Be right back.
Buckwheat is changing lives. My name is Gift Egbelu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So you know it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes, you can use it for waffles, you can use it for making loaves of bread, you can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen free, it is nut free, it is dairy free, that there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.
All right, welcome back. All right, so men's finals, man. The men's rugby tournament came on first, man, kicking off the Olympic week and really kicking off the rugby competition. This one was one that was anybody's game, to be perfectly honest with you. Anybody's bloody game. And that was probably one of the things that made it most interesting and most heartbreaking simultaneously. Before we go into it, man, let's talk about what were the results. France won it all. God dog. Home team took it at home. Congrats to them. I'm not a big fan of France, but I love big play. Fiji I really honestly thought Fiji was going to make this. Like, I did not think that they had anything to stop them, because while they were not like as buttoned up as they normally had been, they didn't look like there was anybody that was going to stop them anytime soon. Like, you kind of looking at it and they were like, who's going to do anything to us? Who's going to do anything? But they really got themselves caught up. So looking at the ranking, we saw France win it all, Fiji getting silver, South Africa getting bronze. Great story for South Africa. What a bloody comeback for South Africa overall. And we'll talk about it as soon as I finish the rankings. Australia came in 4th, New Zealand 5th, Ireland 6th, Argentina 7th, USA 8th, Kenya 9th, Samoa 10th, Uruguay 11, and Japan at number 12. Now, this was one that I really found interesting. I want to talk South Africa because, man, if they had made the finals over France, that would have been, I think, one of, hands down, the greatest comebacks for a rugby team in history, because that was a rugby squad that not only failed to qualify in the African Cups, they had to fight through the repechage to be able to qualify for the Olympics. They did well in the HSBC Sevens series, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know because it didn't feel like this program was taking itself seriously. Then to be able to go through pool play, all right, they lost to who did they lose to? Forgot. They lost like one game, I believe. Made it into pool play at number 2. I think it was New Zealand they might have lost. No, because New Zealand would have been a big deal for them to have won. But made it through to pool play to ultimately get through to quarterfinals, semifinals, lose in the semifinals to the eventual champs France, and then take on Australia to be able to win it all, coming in bronze. Like, this team, that is a resilient team. This is a team that knows how to win. That is a team that knows how to win. Shout out to Captain Selvin David for actually like really knocking this out. Like, he did a great job in rallying his team all the way through. Not just in not just for one game, but throughout the entire competition year in 2023. Between South Africa and China women, I don't think there's any teams that have shown more mental fortitude in this year of rugby sevens than ever. All right, so all the credit goes to them. All right, shout out to Australia, because that was a country that was looking down and out leading into this Olympics. Like, there was no way that there should have been any faith in them. I mean, this is a young team, not very well known, basically trying to rebuild, showing talent. Obviously, there were a couple veterans, like I think Matt Gonzalez, who'd been playing HSBC all throughout sevens, and Nick Malfoy, who's doing stuff. Mark Roche is for Ireland. I forgot the other guy's name. It's a long one. But, like, this is a team that in 2020 ended up coming in 9th. In 2016, if I remember correctly, I think they were like 6th or 7th. Like, Australia rugby, rugby sevens in the Olympics has been monumentally disappointing. So for them to really show out, at the expense of the U.S., of course, too, but to really show out what they could do, I thought it was really beautiful to see. It was really, really beautiful to see from them. Trying to remember where it was. There's the women. Where did the men finish off? Let's see here. Yeah, Australia finished 8th. Yeah, I was right. Australia finished 8th in that. So to bounce back after 2 years, 2 Olympics, I mean, where they just absolutely disappointed. I think it was really impressive on them to be able to get back and forth, and it shows like there's might be a little bit of life left in this in this Australia side. Like there might be legitimate life. They might be having something. Obviously, they got rugby championships coming up. They came in 7th in 2020. Like Australia might not be dead yet. They might be on life support, but they're not dead yet. So I thought that was really dope to be able to see. New Zealand, again, this has not been a good year for New Zealand, if to say so. Like New Zealand has worked really hard to lose to South Africa a lot this year. This last like 12 months. All right. But again, it's a young New Zealand side. Lots of upside. This is never a team that you discount. But I wasn't surprised they weren't as good, but it was just different to kind of see, considering the historic nature that this team has against it, especially considering the fact that they've been in the finals each of the last 2 Olympic sides. So for them to fall out to 5th, oof, heavy. Ireland, man. Ireland was better than I thought, but not as good as I was expecting. If that makes sense. Like they weren't. I knew they weren't going to be complete trash. They came in 3rd in the HSBC Sevens overall series, but I did think that I didn't think they were going to be as competitive, because just whenever you're inside the Olympics, it feels like the teams kind of flippy flop a little bit and it doesn't come off exactly the same. So to be able to see to see the men, they did their thing. Like they put Fiji up on the wall. All right, that was anybody's game in that quarterfinals. They put Fiji up against a post, and obviously Fiji ended up prevailing. But Ireland was a tough team. That's a long team. Like I found these European teams are very long. And it felt like it was personal. I'm not gonna lie. There were some points in the game where I was like, "Yo, like what? Y'all over at Ireland seem like you got a problem with Fiji." And I'm pretty sure it's something of like, "Yo, we want to challenge the expectation that Fiji has of being this ultimate dominant power in rugby sevens, going back-to-back golds, looking to go for the hat trick, and we want to show that we're right up there with them." And honestly, they did. Honestly, they did, man. And it was sad that the U.S. lost to Ireland, because they really did have that game going back. That game was in USA's hand, and being able to have penalties at the end was devastating. To lose literally in the last second, where the U.S. probably would have finished at 6th if they had been able to complete that outing. Argentina. Honestly, Argentina disappointed me. I actually thought Argentina was going to be way better than they were. I mean, they beat the people that they were supposed to beat. That is factually true. They beat the people they were supposed to beat. But like, if that's the standard that we're going by, like, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed by it. I really did think that they were supposed to do much better overall. And I want to try and make sure bring on the men's event for that. So the results, all things considering. All right. Like Argentina they were in Pool B. So they had like Samoa, Kenya, and Australia. Like the game against Australia in the pool play, Argentina just wasn't competitive over long haul. They looked like they were in the rugby championship. It's like they got the yips against Australia. But I really did think Argentina was going to show out better, and they simply just could not. They simply just could not pull it out. Get this specifically. So Argentina finished lost to New Zealand and Australia, of course, their rugby championships partners, and France, which, like I said, Argentina, I've called them. They are the best. They are the worst best team in one of the worst best teams in the world. They literally can beat everybody except for the people that they need to beat to increase their levels. And it's always the same thing. Again, I don't understand why they have such restrictions. Like the Argentina-Australia game, Argentina had it at the beginning, and then they just let Australia come back in. The France game, France pulled away. France is just long. New Zealand game, it was a close game, but New Zealand was able to pull away at the last second, and then over to U.S. For the 7th place spot. Man, I thought Argentina was going to do better, and this goes the same with the USA. And the USA one devastated me more because considering everybody that was on that top 8 list, like the USA had the most to lose. Obviously, Perry Baker retiring after this year. And I'm almost certain that he's going to. Like, he's absolutely retiring. I don't think there's any if, ands, or buts about that. The factor that you are seeing a lot of guys starting to age out. I know Kayvon Williams is going to continue. Madison Hughes is getting older, especially going into this next Olympics. Like, if we go into the next Olympics in LA, like, and we're keeping a squad that's similar to this, we got a lot of 34, 35-year-old dudes that are going to do it. And hey, as a 38-year-old person, I'm here for showing that being in your mid-30s does not mean that you're athletically weaker. But I do think that there's a breath of life that goes into it that is needed. And having too many older guys can actually be hinder the ability for a team to be able to take that next step because you don't have the time. You don't have the hunger and the vigor to be able to go knock it out. But yeah, with the USA team, man, it really bothered me from square one. Obviously, the game against France, I put it on social media. I was horrendously against the idea of tying. Horrendously. I think it was a bad culture move. I know it, and I'll say it like it was before. It's a smart play. It's a smart play to be able to continue on. It's a safe route. But when it was all said and done, like, I think that impacts the mentality of the players. Like, there's a takeaway where it's like, we can't beat them, so we're just going to ease our way through. And you had Fiji and Uruguay that they had to play in the pool play afterward. Fiji manhandled the USA completely, and Uruguay, that's where Perry was able to really go off on them. But Uruguay was also a weaker team, so it wasn't really going to be that surprising that they went off on them like that. But whenever you have like the you going into freaking the quarterfinals, you go up against an Australia team that just you're not able to break past the hump and get past a defense that was honestly trying to give you the plays, man. The number of penalties Australia was making was wild, but like the US just dropping ball after dropping ball to lose 18-0 in the quarterfinals just hit. And then for the Ireland game, I mentioned before, like, it was a last second play. They had Ireland. Ireland was one. That should have been 14-12. And that game should have been over if it wasn't for I think the offsides call. So man, it hits. And then for the Argentina game, it goes back again to, like, it feels like the mentality just drops, where it's like, what's the effing point? There's no hunger to be able to get more because, again, guys are older. You get more. You have expectations. This is a team that's been more or less together for a decade, and what the result of that is to be determined on that one. So, not to be determined. It hasn't been. It's been determined. It's not been great. It's not been great. But it's been a talented team. I refuse to let anybody say that this USA men's team was lacking in players or was lacking in a proper roster selections. Like, no, it was good. The good mix of a lot of veterans, a couple young guys who absolutely showed out. Shout out Lucas LeCamp and Oren Beezer. Like they did their job. They showed out. They're the reason why you want the team to get younger. But at the same time, like that inability to complete the play, that inability to like fight to not just be mediocre, but to be able to get by, and just it hit the U.S. And I don't know what we're gonna do in this next 4 years. I don't know what we're gonna end up doing in these next 4 years, because arguably the moment where we have our single most important Olympic Games where we really need to actually show out, we're not going to have probably our best team that we've had. The golden era, as of right now, of USA men's rugby, I think is over. With Perry Baker stepping down, and rightfully so, the next time the Olympic comes around, he's going to be 42 years old. He can't play in that. That's insanity. The man's got kids, obviously, take care of his family, go make some real money. It's tough. So this USA one, man, this Ian Paris really hurt, because there was so many things on the line. Of course, we got new coaching that's going to come in. A lot of talks that Mike Friday, if he hasn't officially done it, will officially step down as the men's rugby sevens head coach. And honestly, I don't think that that's the wrong move. Again, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. And haven't meddled, haven't finalized in anything. Of course, the biggest thing has been that this team has been a threat, and it brought notoriety to the name of the U.S. In rugby sevens. And I think the only reason why people want to try and disclaim it is as if rugby sevens is the same rugby sevens that we had in pre-2009. Like, it's not the same thing. Like, this is the game. This is its game. Like, it's not over 15s in terms of the long-term value, but yeah, it is a legit game. This is not the side project of 15s anymore. It's not an exercise. There's legit competition with legit stakes, with legit story, with legit viewership, with legit audience. So it needs to be taken seriously. So to have had Mike Friday be able to bring us up where we are a legitimate threat for medal, and people have to watch us and really scheme against us and never just dismiss what the U.S. can do, has been an absolute pleasure. It has been so good, and I hope we are able to keep going up with it. But I'm trying to think of a good football reference of where I got it. Just like the Warriors had to do with what's his name, their head coach, before they brought in Steve. Before they brought in Steve Kerr, and they had a guy who basically set up this entire roster, but it is now time for somebody else to literally start it all over, and hopefully start from an understanding of what the platform means, and behind the leaderships of Kayvon and Madison Hughes for however long they continue to be able to play, which it looks like they're going to go one more at least Olympic cycle. They have to go at least one more Olympic cycle in LA. Like, come on, like that's wild if they don't. So, man, it's tough, man. I feel bad for Perry, man. One of all-time scorers, obviously multiple times. Like, one of the attentions that, man, I'm gonna talk about the attention situation later, but it's really sad to me. But I'm glad the U.S. was able to. Man, I can't even really do that. I'm glad they were able to make it, but man, it's just disappointing. Again, 6th place in 2020. What was it? We came in 6th in 2020, and I think we came in 7th in 2016. This is a tough one. It's a tough one to have to keep swallowing. A tough one to have to keep swallowing. What was it? We came in 9th in 2016. So, yeah. And then look, last thing off for the men's side, Kenya. I thought Kenya was going to do way better, but I'm glad they managed to get at 9th. It's a young team. They're doing their whole restart as well in the middle of financial problems for Kenya Rugby Union. In the middle of political strife that's happening for the Kenyan country. Just to be able to pull it through. And they look like they wanted to play. I always said the big thing with Kenya was the last two Olympics, it just felt like the guys were just happy to get there. And this team felt like they wanted to win. They weren't able to do it, but they felt like they wanted to win. Samoa is the same. Tough team. Just wasn't able to complete it out. It was all said and done. Uruguay was scrappy, but when it came down to it, just didn't have the talent. And the same with Japan. And Japan's actually a big one because, when we got introduced to Japan in 2016, that was a team that beat South Africa in the pool play and ended fourth in 2016, and really was the launching pad for what we felt was the rise of Japanese rugby into a tier 1 nation. And then when in 2020 they finished 11th, and this year they went to 12th. Like, they progressively getting worse. So they'll have to jump back, be able to get investment again some way somehow. But it was really interesting to be able to see. So that was my thoughts here for the men's side on this one. All right, look, I'm going to go to a commercial. I don't actually have one set for this initially, but this was long. I need to take a quick break. We'll be back, and I'm going to talk about the women's side. This is Gift Egbelu with Rugby Swag. Be right back.
There's wheat flour that you can eat. My name is Gift Time Egbelu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods. And I want to tell you about one of our best and most beloved products, our sweet white wheat baking mix. Now, this is the baking mix for those who are not really looking for something that's gluten-free, but they are looking for something that they can eat that is going to still be healthy and is not going to be dangerous. White flour is typically a very processed, incredibly bleached flour, and it's not good for you. It's incredibly cheap for a reason. Our sweet white wheat bread mix is whole grain, dairy-free, high in dietary fiber, free of additives, and is absolutely unprocessed and unrefined. With our sweet white wheat bread mix, you can feel like you're getting all the same rewards that you would get from poor white bread, but with all the nutritional value. You're able to still make your bread loaves or your cakes, your flat bread or your cookies, but you don't have to feel like you are going to be robbing yourself of good carbohydrates. You can get the sweet white wheat bread mix from healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely go impress your friends and family with the greatest bread while not making them feel like they have to be gluten-free at the same time. No dangers, full body pleasures. Go ahead and get yours today. Let's go.
All right, welcome back. All right, so we're going to be looking at the women's side, and I think this was the one that has the biggest impact in rugby overall. Like, it clearly made a huge move, because if you watch how social media shifted with this, it was, I think, bar none, one of the most impactful moves for rugby, the growth of rugby, particularly for the women's. But let's break this down for a moment here with what we got. All right. First off, shout out to New Zealand going back-to-back golds, being able to win and get that repeat. But this is where it was. The Americas, man. Canada coming in silver. What a jump back. All right. Well, first with New Zealand, a big push. The golden era of the Black Ferns. All right. Always been a tough team, but this last 10 years, 2014 to freaking 2024 has been a gold. And I don't think they're dropping off, really. I don't think they're going to be the same, but I don't think they're dropping off. But like, man, this, to be able to, the amount of winning that this team has been able to do, and especially this year when they just weren't like kicking it. They started off really slow. Like, I didn't think that I didn't think they were going to be bad. I assumed they were going to be in the medal match, but I didn't think that they were as dominant as we'd known them in the past. Like, Portia Woodman's been getting old. Wycliffe has been getting older. So she's been kind of thrown back. Still always a beast when it needs to be, but was holding back. I felt like they were trying to still figure out exactly who they wanted to be distributing the ball a little bit. Being able to see what the just kind of feeling out their team over the year. But whenever New Zealand wants to turn it on, they turn it on, and you just can't stop them. You just can't stop them. So big shout out, because that's in everything. It is undoubted. I put it on there. The 2014 to 2024, because it's basically about the same people, more or less. New Zealand Black Ferns may arguably be the single greatest women's team ever. I don't think it's even an argument. I think it's the single greatest era for a women's team, because they didn't just win in sevens. It's the same way they won in sevens, in 15s, Commonwealth. They won basically everywhere they went multiple times over. No flukes, no mistakes. It's uncanny how good they have been. And nobody can even say oh man, the women's teams have just not been as good. No. This was the rise of the professional era. This was the rise of legit competition with England and Australia in 15s and 7s. The development of the Fijian side, obviously the U.S. coming into terms. Great Britain, for the Olympics, obviously. But this New Zealand Black Ferns team it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's no team. I don't know if they're going to be ever that good, because I don't know if you have that many generational players in you. I think they have really, really good players, and they have some great players. Michaela Blythe and really Michaela Blythe is a great player. Who is it that I'm thinking of right now? Shoot, I gotta look at my roster. I stick with that. Michaela Blythe, great play. They have some really, really good players like Sarah Harini, Stacey Waka, Georgia Miller. That's a team of really, really, really good players, a couple great players, and a legit generational talent. The weapon. There's no players that are less than an A. And less than an A minus. That is 100%. That's an A minus team with a bunch of A minuses, a couple A's, and then a single A plus in Portia Woodman. So I don't know if you get that combination again. It's legitimately difficult to be able to see that through like that. But it's been an absolute pleasure to watch them. And then Canada, look, if you guys don't know what the story on Canada was, Canada women in 2020 basically were defunct. They're basically going defunct. They had so much strife with their coach. They finished 9th in that year, and they had so much strife with the coaching. I think there was some sexual assault situations going on. There was abuse situations going on. The players protested. People got fired. Rugby union got turned over. And it really did look like, man, maybe Canada's run, they had 2016. They were 2014 to 2019, 2020. They were legitimately a threatening team. They lost a bunch of older players, and then the remaining guard just did not perform because COVID and distractions and et cetera like that. And it really looked like they were just gonna kind of fall by the wayside, similar to what the men's side has ended up doing. But man, they came back. And very unassumingly, again, Canada is always in the mix. They've been in the mix for the women's team, but again, similar to what I felt like with New Zealand for the men, I just didn't think they were going to be that good. I didn't think they were going to be. I thought they were going to be top 5 finish and kind of leave it off from there. But no, they came in, got into silver medal place, beat Australia. Like they had a run on them. They had a run on them where it did not seem like they were going to be able to like it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense as a run. Like call it what it was. It didn't make sense as a run. Like I didn't think that they were gonna be eating it like that. So I just need to go see their schedule. So they had Fiji women, which came in as the past bronze medalist, beat Fiji women. Took on New Zealand. New Zealand worked them. All right. Took on the People's Republic of China. Again, we'll talk about that team when we get to it. Another great run. Beat China. Took on France. France is hard with Stefan Serafine Akemba and Cecile Ciofani. No, it's not Cecile Ciofani. Ciofani is and Ciofani and Cecile Ciofani at the wings, who are just absolutely dominating. Were able to get past them in the last second. Went in, took on Australia, who arguably should have been the best team in women's rugby based off of what we'd seen off the HSBC sevens this past year. Like they should have been able to just had a nice little run and then finish out, but they didn't. They beat Australia and beat Australia pretty well. Beat Australia pretty bloody well. And then to get into the finals and play against New Zealand again and play them closer for whatever it's worth. Like, it wasn't a bad play. It was better than they did the first time through. But, like, man, that was – I got to give Canada its props, man. Shout out Charity Williams, on a friend of the pod, been on there, like, man, 2-time Olympian. She's been able to get both 1 bronze and 1 silver. Like, dude, like, you can't beat that as a career. She retired today. She was good. She's absolutely good. I want to get these rankings out because I want to make sure I followed them through for the women. Yeah. So, yeah. But, like, yeah, Canada, I just impressed. And then I can't say enough about the USA women, man. Like, man, when you talk about ass against the wall, literally rocking a hard place. This was the USA women are everything that we needed to have happen for rugby right now. And it's so funny because typically as Americans, like, we don't really praise hard the bronze. But this was one that was a glass ceiling that was so badly needing to be broke. This was a glass ceiling that so badly needed to be broken. We needed to get this one. As I remember a quote that was said, I think Ileana had said this in an interview, or Sammy Sullivan, one of the two had said it, where they were basically like, Emily Bidwell said, if we don't medal here, we might not have a program going into next year, which is wild to me, considering that the women have been grotesquely more successful than the men at every component of rugby, on and off the field, have absolutely dominated and done exactly what they're supposed to do, and have been in the conversation for medaling. Always in the conversation. I don't think in the 10 years that we've seen them grow that they've done worse than 5th place, maybe 6th, I think, in 1 year. They might have been 6th once overall. But they have constantly been in the top 4, top 5, top 4, top 5. I mean, we automatically qualified because we were already top 4. Like, this was exactly what was needed. And oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful moment to see that bronze. It was such a beautiful moment. Like, I cried. I think I was in Sao Paulo at the time whenever it happened. So I was able to watch it kind of on the fly a little bit, but man, to just like know that was done, and especially against Australia, a team that notoriously has been difficult for the US this entire HSB sevens tournament. Like I've talked about it in the past that on each of the legs of the HSBC sevens, like Australia, US had done well to get into the quarterfinals, even get into some semifinals, but every time they would get into the go up against Australia, they even beat New Zealand once, but they'd go up against Australia and just completely fart out. Like, man, Oh my God, that last play with Spiff Cedric, great broken tackle, like off the that was what we call a hunger play. That was a hunger freaking play. Just absolutely bout it with it. Absolutely bout it with it. And getting it for basically what was it? A 95-meter run, 100-meter run to be able to get that in to close it out like that. That is what storybook finishes. That is movie worthy. And reason why I can say this is movie worthy, because this is, and I will say this with all of my chest, the one win out of the Olympics that have actually mattered for the totality of rugby. Now, cumulatively, New Zealand and England doing well. Great Britain, I guess at the time, typically, but New England, Great Britain, New Zealand, Australia, their cumulative performances over the years have allowed the progression of rugby for women. That was the beginning of professionalization, not just with the Premier League in 15, but professionalization in sevens. After, what was it, the 2017 Rugby World Cup was when New Zealand and Australia finally started paying their women, and they didn't have to keep being like cops and plumbers and journey women on the side while simultaneously, playing. You could just focus on play. So in terms of that progression, yes, New Zealand and them actually move the bar into it. But that will really work in the individual countries. I don't think it ripple effect as hard into other places simply because New Zealand, Australia just don't have the they don't have the leverage. They don't have the gusto to be able to make that much of a wave culturally worldwide, right? They are able to be a example, but they do not have the gravitas to be able to pull it. And then with Great Britain and England, I mean, England pays out their women. They pay out their women. They've gotten seconds and thirds and fourths and yada yada. But again, very good for England. Impacts a lot of what Europe has been able to do. Obviously, that Western Europe element has allowed them to be able to absorb a lot of the best women in the league and bring them to Premiership League. A lot of the women that play for Great Britain and some of these teams play over in England under the Premiership Rugby Women. So that is impactful. Alev Kelter is a result of being able to have that factor. So it does improve it. But the USA winning with a star player, that changes the narrative overall, because a lot of the companies that really pay out the sponsorships, a lot of the companies that really want to see it, that really invest, like legitimately invest and have a population to invest and really can change you from being a barely getting by athlete to legit wealth, reside in the US. The media arm that the U.S. gets when they really get something, and we'll talk about this more, because what's going on with Ileana Mar is game-changing, absolutely game-changing, and we needed to have this win to see it. But the media arm of the U.S. legitimately resides with us, and us being on that par shows exactly how to skyrocket it. And again, you go back to that. I'm gonna show the graphic. Because like it speaks so much volume. So yeah, this is the graphic that I'm talking about. If you guys hadn't had a chance to see it already, this one here. What are we doing right now? All right. shows what was the attention and the searchability of rugby over the last 5 years. And Olympic sevens this year shot it up like nothing before. Almost 3 times the value of the men's 2023 Rugby World Cup, and even more so for twice. I guess twice the value of the men's Rugby World Cup. Women's barely even made a blip anywhere. Six Nations, especially 2023 Six Nations after Netflix's show, didn't make a blip. And even within the finals, looking at it, the Olympic where you started, whenever the men started, where the finals were, and then subsequently where the women's finals are. You guys, if you're just listening to this, you can see this on Sam Love Rugby. She was able to make this, but like the interest and the searchability is everything. It's everything because the Olympics changed it up, and to have the U.S. inside there, that is gay. It was different. You can feel it. It is different. Like I feel like we are going to see one of the biggest changes, but they have to sustain it. It has to be sustained. So we'll talk about that a little bit more because I want to go into the rest of these players. Obviously, Australia, a massive team. Like they seem to be just the unfortunate goat in this situation. They were the boss that had dominated for so long, but needed to go down for the protagonist to be able to kick in. Like Australia was, by in fact, probably the most talented, most balanced, and most prepared team going into this. Between Madison and Tegan Levy, Charlotte Caslick, Faith Nathan, and not to take away from the from any of the other women, such as freaking Dominic Dutoit, who absolutely was killing it. Sarah Packy, Sharni Williams Small. Like they had arguably the most balanced team, and they were a loss of expectation. That one hurts different. I feel for them on that one. Mind you, I don't feel for them so much where I want them to have gotten the win because I like that the U.S. won and it needed to happen. And but it was a great game, great final. Man, that Spiff Cedric should be on the highlight of every single mother freaking USA Rugby ad, video, promo, whatever it is. That play is legitimately a demarcation. This could be a canon moment for USA Rugby's sevens program. And even if they're 15s, if they're able to kind of find a way to jump on that wave as well. France women, France just lost because they dropped too many balls, man. France was, I think, is as talented as Australia. Like, and this is the other thing why I love this Olympics. In the 2020 Olympics, France came in second, Fiji came in third, Great Britain came in fourth, Australia came in fifth, right? But this year, other than New Zealand, everybody else fell out. Australia obviously moved up to fourth. Great Britain fell out altogether. Fiji just bottomed the hell out. Oh my God. Like that was the most surprising thing to me. I think of them all, like how bad Fiji actually performed. And then France just wasn't able to clinch and close out where they were supposed to be. They couldn't clinch when it mattered most for them. And so like to see France falling out like that was wild. But man, it doesn't take away from the fact of the matter that Serafin Okemba is a mother freaking beast. And she needs more attention, Cecile Ciafani, she was great. I think she disappointed a little bit this year. Chloe Pell, great. A lot of these players, they performed that, but for France, just they weren't able to get it. And I'm glad. I would have hated it for the host team to win on both of them. Like France doesn't deserve that much love. France doesn't deserve that much love. They should never be able to have that much swagger in one place. But goodness gracious, of all people. Now China. China was a conversation, man. China is definitely a conversation because China was a team that fell out of the HSBC Sevens tournament. They had to qualify to get into the HSBC Sevens tournament through the championships, through the Challengers Cup, right? Won throughout the Challengers Cup. Subsequently, then had to go through the repechage to be able to win it all, and had a great game finals against Kenya. Both of those teams, man, I would have loved to have had them back in again. Went in absolutely to handle business against Kenya to qualify for the Olympics. Now, this is usually the point where they tend to fall off in big plays, but no. This China women's team came with a hunger. Now, mind you, they weren't the greatest. They weren't the most dominant team in the world, but they played like they were trying to win it all. And they had a hard one. Look, they played New Zealand, got bodied by New Zealand. Of course, that was going to happen. But Fiji absolutely bodied Fiji. It's almost like they took all the mistakes they made in the New Zealand game and put it on Fiji. Then ended up losing to Canada. All right, which again, you lost to the top two teams in the competition. All right, went back, had to play New Zealand again in the quarterfinals, got bodied by New Zealand even worse. All right, went up against Great Britain, and this one was the surprising because this is a Great Britain team, has Jasmine Joyce, has Ellie Boatman, has what's her name? Shannon? No, God, dog. What's her name? Meg Jones on it. Even Ellie Kildun, who played with the England 15s team, was pretty solid in this one. And they beat Great Britain again last second, similar to what Ireland did to the US, similar to what US did to Australia. Last second, able to take it out the corner and be able to go in for the score, destroying the hopes of another opportunity to get third place for Great Britain. And that I think is one of the biggest wins. That is one of the biggest. That team was so defensive, and then they would end up losing to France, so obviously falling down to ultimately to sixth place. But like, man, that's a hard team. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the HSBC Sevens because China's been there, has been a normal mainstay. So whenever they weren't there, it was a little weird, especially, they lost to Japan and everything in those plays, but it looks like they're trying to get themselves back. And I think they'll be ready for LA. I think they'll be a legit threat. Still not great athletic talent, but really good mental, really strong hitters. They're big players too. And they're a lot faster than you think. They're not speedsters, but they're not slow. Great Britain, again, like I just said, I feel like it's disappointing, but it's hard for that Great Britain team. Like, they don't play together all year round. Like, it's some combination of Wales, Scotland, and England. That's a wild combination when each of those teams all have their own, even though Wales doesn't really have a women's sevens teams that's worth anything. But like they all usually are playing differently, and then you have this all-star cast that goes under this what is it? The Captain Jack, the one-eyed Jack flag, whatever the F it's called. And then you got to play together at the last second. And I'm not gonna lie, man, Great Britain and Ireland, that game felt personal. If you guys watch it, that game was personal. They were legitimately trying to hurt each other. Great to watch, but they were legitimately like really making remember me shots on the players. I thought that was fantastic. But again, Great Britain's not a cohesive team. So anytime they do well, they just have a lot of talent. Jasmine Joyce, like I said, speedy, absolutely gets it every time she's on the field. But she can't do it by herself. Who I didn't see pop up. I don't know if she got injured or not, but Amy Wilson-Hardy. Didn't hear her name hardly at all. No pun intended. Didn't hear her hardly at all. So it was just like, what is it that's expected from them? And you get a seventh place finish. Ireland women, man, tough one. again, Ireland women has always been like that. It's like a B+ team. They got some legit talent off the edge, from what's her name? Amy, it's a four name. I always got to keep going back to the rosters, man. I'm so bad at remembering names off rip. Amy Lee Murphy Crow, like absolutely killing. Vicky Elms Kinlan as well, but really Amy Lee Murphy Crow was, I think, a really big game changer for this Ireland team. She scored. She was a scorer. Like, what can you? She was a scorer. And I think she was probably the most effective player that they had. Defensively, they were good, but again, it's just one of those teams that just don't have the full talent. Like they are a veteran team. They're a knowledgeable team. They got talent. They got A talent. They got B+ talent, B- talent, B talent. They don't have any A talent. They don't have A+ talent, unfortunately. And it can go in any way. So. Them falling down to them being at 8th place, is a rough one. But where were they in the last Olympics? They weren't even in the last Olympics for women. So, like, just to know that they were able to get that, and be there and be able to show out is remarkable. Like, especially considering they haven't been in it. Yeah, they weren't even in the first one. Someone told me that Ireland had been. It's just the men. But like, yeah, like you do what you can and you kind of jump back. Losing Lucy Mulhall Rock is definitely going to be a big hitter for them. Great captain for basically 10 years. Like, that's impressive. Basically 10 years. Maybe if you want to be specific, 7 years since 2016. But like 2016, 2017, so 8 years. But like, that's a team that's still pretty squatted up. Stacey Flood still going to be doing her damage. She's still out there. Again, Amy Lee Murphy Crow. She's a little older, but still dominant. Kathy Baker, Megan Burns, and Baby Parsons. Is always going to be like right there. So they're good for a while. I think they're going to be just kind of middle of the road for the greater part of the future. But like, they did. It makes sense. Japan dominating Brazil kept them in 9th place. That was basically it. I didn't think Japan was going to do all that well, to be honest with you. So because they tend to always kind of falter whenever you get to the big games. They're always in it a little bit, but they don't ever really do very well. So, I was impressed that they were able to, hold it down with Brazil. It sucks that Brazil ended up having to take the brunt of that because, they absolutely just have a talent. They have a speedy team on the side. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I get all these, get the rankings back correctly. Yeah. So like it's that. And then Brazil, they did their best. They did their best. There wasn't very much high expectations for them to super dominate in this situation. I think they performed admirably. They performed absolutely admirably. I mean, they had a tough schedule. To be able to get at least like 1 or 2 wins in this, I think is really important. And they're constantly in the Olympics. Like, for whatever it's worth, you can say what you want about Brazil, but they've found a way to completely dominate South America. So as long as they still have the ability to get a trip to the Olympics, I think that they're always going to be on a good path. Like, they were able to get the win over Fiji, which was great. Just Japan really worked them through. Obviously, the U.S. and France worked them out. But they got 1 win, and that's impressive. Leaving it down to South Africa and Fiji. South Africa, again, is a team, I think they're still up and coming. We're able to win the African Cup, first time into the Olympics. There wasn't, again, very much expectations. Again, a talented team. I think they're like a C+ team. They got a couple B players. Still going to be searching. They're still going to be finding their their best, but it wasn't. It wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't bad. It was like, yo, shout out to them. They did their thing. I think that there is a potential. That South Africa women's team, I think, has a rise like what Fiji was doing, Fiji women were doing, but I don't know what they did this year, because Fiji women, like, I thought that they were about to clean up, because the last Olympics, they were just knocking everybody out, knocking people out. They were hard hitting. They're big. They were fast. They were quick, able to do their damage. Like, I think they really started coming around 2015. You start to see the growth, and I thought they were going to top out on this one, and they really didn't. And watching the games, it's funny because they literally have all the talent, but they felt sluggish. They felt sluggish. They felt just unhurried. There was no sense of urgency in the way that they played. Like, it wasn't that they weren't fast enough, because they were. I think they were a little slow. Don't get me wrong. I think defensively they were very slow. But offensively, you give them the ball, they're big, they're long, they're quicker than they look, and they take large strides, and could always go away with it. Still hit big, but they just weren't getting to the players like they didn't the last Olympics. And I hope they're able to rectify this and really kind of get that fire back underneath them, because I feel like they really played half-ass. Like, they lost against Canada 14-17, got mollywopped by China 12-40. New Zealand mollywopped them 38-7. Then Brazil beat them, which was, I think, an upset by all intents and purposes. And then South Africa beating them in the last minute. So, man, there's a lot, man. It was a lot. So I thought this was a great one. This was really a great one, really succinct. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys' thoughts were on this one. I know this is a long one, but I don't care. This is what the point of the podcast is there. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Yo, what did you like from the women's side? What did you like from the men's side? Tell me what you guys are going with, man. Yeah, we're going to be right back after this commercial break, and we're going to be talking a little bit of who are some of the hottest players to come out of this. This is Gifted Egbelu with Rugby Swag. Be right back.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifted Egbelu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got a ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins, rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that, and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you are trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fats, but even more importantly, they have a low glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter breads without sacrificing your diet. But it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, it goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.
All right, so coming back in, man, I want to talk about some of the hottest players. And what I mean by the hottest players is who came out with fire behind their name, all right? And the reason why this is important was because of the fact of what I said before. I felt like this was the most important Olympics, a most important rugby event for creating actual developing attention for rugby worldwide, impacting in the US first, but worldwide. And it all started. We know who's the front runner for this one. It's clearly Ilona Maher. Clearly Ilona Maher. And you know what? Shouldn't be that surprising because she did this in 2021 for the 2020 Olympics. That's where it started. A lot of people try to be like, oh man, it's just kind of popping up around the Olympics and she just started getting all the attention. No. She did that with the behind the scenes and really doing it all. And what makes it funny is that it actually was two of them that were doing it. It was Cody Melfi, who we've done the interview with, and it was Ilona Maher coming out of it. And that was the first time where we saw like World Rugby decide to actually jump on a train of social media and actually be like, oh, maybe we should help promote one of our players to actually doing well. Not just like, sitting back and doing nothing. And I don't like the fact that they tried to jump in and act like they did anything to do it, as if Ilona hadn't been doing it the entire Olympics and really got herself, I think at that point it was almost 900,000 in terms of 900,000 followers in coming out of the Olympics and just doing behind the scenes and having fun and just showing like what it was to be at the Olympics during COVID. I have said consistently that that rugby needs more stars and it needs to address those stars. Like they need to present them. And obviously with Ilona, they made it easy because she did all the walking labor and then, was able to follow through. But from 2020 until now, she was rugby famous. Like there was a few people that knew about her, obviously, because she had a large following on TikTok and did that. And she obviously has been very, very consistent with her message of body positivity. But this year, because of now the bronze and everything else, she is now famous. She's mainstream famous. I think she's going to end up being in movies. I said this on the show, The Rugby Odds, with Matt McCarthy and John Bradford Layfield and Steve Lewis and George from Ireland. I think Ilona Maher is going to actually be the first active rugby millionaire in the US. And I think might be the first active rugby millionaire for women's rugby. The only reason why I'm not saying overall is because obviously there's been some contracts that have been made by players to get to that status. I think like Dan Carter with the top, like in the top 14, this is normality, premiership, we see that. But like, I think this is the first time that we're seeing it where it's not getting paid because taxes are done super differently in like they are in France, and it's just billionaires wasting money to waste money, and it's not a payment that feels like it is a slow, steady drain into oblivion, like it is with the Premiership Rugby, and really just the contract is $1 million, but they're not like getting paid $1 million a year. No. I think Ilyona Mar is going to be paid millions of dollars per year. And I think she's going to be the first legit rugby active player millionaire, not made their money after they played and did other businesses. She will be an active playing millionaire. And she has the greatest lead up, because not only did she just get the bronze and be able to get the attention in the Paris Olympics, but we got Los Angeles coming up next. And if the US can medal again, let alone win gold in Los Angeles, it is nothing that she's not going to have access to. I genuinely believe that she is going to be probably the single most important game-changing force for USA Rugby. And it is funny because I'm not going to front. 2019, didn't think it was going to be that. I thought she was charming. If you guys ever saw like the videos that her and Naya did in the past, I thought they were very charming. You know, she was always funny. She was always very, Midwestern kind of humor kind of girls, kind of the same content she was doing, just doing it on YouTube before. But I always thought that Naya was probably going to be the bigger face, or and then of course I always felt like Perry Baker and Carla Niles was. But no, this has been different. Like, I'm used to people knowing about Perry Baker and Carla Niles whenever they would show me their highlight videos, right? It was their highlight videos that was always like coming through. Oh my God, they're so fast. Oh my God, this is what they can do. That's amazing. And I would get that all the time. But this was the first time that I've seen Ilyona Mar in mainstream conversations that have jack shit to do with rugby. They have nothing to do with rugby. If you guys look on Twitter, and I mean, if you want to, some of us, still going through Threads as well. Even Threads, like Ilyona's name is not synonymous with just rugby. Like, she is in it of itself a normal conversation piece. Like, I saw a video of her doing the on Fandango, and them asking questions on Fandango. If you don't know what Fandango is, that's the movie app where they are basically you can buy your tickets and keep the schedule of movies, etc., like that. You got with her and Tom Brady, like, yo. I swear. Up with Travis Kelce, obviously, absolutely, dominating in that, where being able to have that friendship value. My goodness, like it's just, yeah, exactly. Travis Kelce here with Travis Kelce. I'm not Travis. I'm sorry, Jason Kelce, the former lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, brother of Travis Kelce, who's dating Taylor Swift. It's wearing Ilyona Mar merch, like playing rugby with her dad. Like, this is just some old Midwestern love product off of bronze. And again, this isn't bronze like we're gonna say this like a pejorative. Like, this is legit bronze. Like, we broke a glass ceiling, and I think there's legitimate money that can be made from there. This is a capital investment that happened, not just from the woman from the Washington Spirits who did the $4 million. Like, she is a part of the conversation with Good Morning America. You saw it. I'm seeing people like just talk about her like it is like she's my favorite player ever. Like, she's my favorite. That's what people are doing. Conversations innocuous to rugby. That's when you know you actually have a legitimate star. That is what a legitimate star. And now, and I hope she's ready for it, she's going to be on the watch. They live in San Diego. So she's right within that proximity of that paparazzi. I'm sure her management squad is already setting things up, and we're probably going to see her in a lot of commercials, and give her the credit because she's been doing the same thing over and over and over and over. She preaches body positivity. She preaches dating. She talks about dating, and then she makes humorous jabs at herself while trying to also be as authentically in front. And again, the whole thing is how much rugby had been holding that back. I give a lot of credit to Emily Bidwell for not being the type of coach to try and hold that back, because that is a beast for the development of rugby, not just women's rugby. I mean, rugby in general. And if you're doing it in the US, which is why it was so important, and I will say this with every breath in my heart, that the dumbest thing that the US could be doing is that they put all their energy into winning or just getting to the quarterfinals of Rugby World Cup in 2031 and 2033 because it's on home base. But nobody has said a damn thing about LA 2028, the event where you have the single highest amount of producers, sponsors, media people, the highest amount of eyes that will be watching the games. Undoubtedly, like, say what you want. I don't think that rugby sevens in itself is a profitable venture, but I think that rugby sevens in the Olympics is a massive profitable venture. Like, it is a massive profitable venture. And that is where you change the game altogether. And now you distribute everybody to their respective silos. And you didn't have to work anything to get LA 2028. Winning the Rugby World Cup is great for the rugby world. Like, it's good for world rugby. It's nice credibility for establishing some connection with foreign sponsors. But winning the Olympics is life-changing. You know how we know it is? Look at Usain Bolt. Look at Michael Phelps. Look at Simone Biles. These are all people that were very innocuous prior to their performances in the Olympics. And after the Olympics, absolutely dominated. And of course, they'd also help that they were dominating as well, too. These two go intertwining together. Add to the fact that Ileana probably now is somewhere almost at 2 million followers on Instagram. So it's the added following. She's got the audience. She's brought pedigree to the US. She's dominant at her play. She's a highlight reel. She's a characteristic reel. This is what you're supposed to be nurturing and cultivating. And that is what we call hottest player. All right. That is cultivation that you're supposed to be able to do. That is what you're supposed to do as an organizing body. My goodness, it makes me so angry that hadn't been done before, but I am so god dog happy that this was able to happen, and what it will result in for the US as long as they keep doing it. And USA Rugby could even get themselves out of this stupid brokenness that they're in, this bankruptcy, if they play the game right. They need to make sure they're investing in that sevens. And more importantly, they need to make sure that men's team is gold ready for 2028. Don't be worrying over here 2031, 2033. That is the least important big event that we have. 2028 in LA, the single biggest media market in the freaking world, having the single biggest sporting event in the world, and being the home team to be able to represent that. If you do not put all your energy into that, you don't want to win. Stop listening to English people. I think that's the really big key. Stop listening to people from the UK. People from the UK who do rugby know nothing. At least the ones that are in leadership and who have been consulting. Because the amount of effort without actually really promoting a pathway for 2028 is wild. And with the men's side, we're starting all over. We're starting all over. What a horrible time to start all over again. Oh my goodness. Oh, my chest hurts. But yeah. I put Ileana Mar as number one. Number two, I have Portia Woodman. But again, it was because her highlights started going through, and it was really fun. Not that in the rugby world, we've already known she's been a beast, 10 years, end of her career. We know Portia Woodman, by and far, is the greatest women's rugby player of all time as of right now. And I don't know if it's going to be anybody who's going to be popping through anytime soon. Easily the greatest, most decorated, but I mean, she's legitimately the greatest women's rugby player of all freaking time. it is unbeknownst. And I will say one step further. I think she's the top 10 all-time rugby player. All bloody time rugby player. She is a legend. Her accomplishments have been are basically going to be unsurpassed. I don't know if anybody can be that dominant again. And nobody can be like, oh man, the women's side was just weak during her time. No, the women's side grew to its strongest that it has ever been, ever in the history of women's rugby. This is the best talent of players that have ever come across within the women's side. And she absolutely made all of them look like children when she was on the field. So I think she did. Anyways, the point is, I think she gained a little notoriety. We saw her highlights going through and really starting to make runs. Not to the extent of like Michaela, like not Michaela, like Ileana. Like again, that's different. She's rugby famous with expectation, and I hope that as she moves into retirement, we get a chance to she gets a chance to rest the rest of the way. Now, again, sticking within rugby famous now, and what I think more so people that came out of this, that it's now I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. Not so much that they became like world renowned, but they became more famous. They became much more prominent, and I think in the overall goal of winning. For France, I think Joseph Sefo. I think he's a star. I didn't really know that much about him prior to it. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm pretty confident that man is a star. And I don't know if there's like his play was remarkable. This dude just owned the edge. He was just big for no reason. Big, tall, strong. Like, what else can you ask for when it comes to that? Big, tall, strong. And I think it was, I'm trying to be able to get to the men's side. Here we go. That's what I want to be able to. Like I don't know how I'm looking up how old he is now. But for whatever it's worth, he was I think he was much more of a game changer than I expected him to be. Jordan Sefo, not James Sefo. I'm sorry. Jordan Sefo. He's 25, so he's young. Yeah. So yeah, I think he really broke out on this one as well. They really utilized him. And then on the other side for the U.S., I think Lucas Lecamp. Man, that guy has a motor on him. Again, he's technically been with the team for 2 years, three years now. Out of UCLA, he's English and Filipino, I think, or English and Singapore. I forgot the other one. I think English and Singaporean. But like man's got a motor. Man's got a motor on him. Like, I thought he was a dynamic player. Great tackling, great running, got a couple tries underneath his belt, got some really game-stopping scores. Like, we're losing Perry Baker, but man, I think he could be another like side leader. He's obviously not as fast as Perry is and not as quick, but he's no slouch. And I thought he was great coming out of this. Like, this was one of those people that the U.S. needs to build around as well. Get that big three out of it, the Madison Hughes, Kayvon Williams, and Lucas Lecamp. Oren Beezer would be on that as well too. I don't think he was as dominating as Lucas Lecamp was, but he was still a good performer coming in a young player coming into it. I think he did an incredible job with it. And then for the women's side, I talked about her a little bit before, Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe. Like, she's an older player. She's been around for but like, she was fantastic. Yeah, especially she was like the one like major highlight for Ireland women when it all came down. Like, she really did pull it off. Obviously just wasn't able to do much because the whole team just wasn't able to get the win. But I thought she really stood out. And then Spiff Cedric, that last play is going to go down in history. Like, that's the only thing that would have been better. The only way that play could have been more iconic is if Ilyona Mar had ran it. Like if she had broken through and ran it for that 90-something yards, homegirl's getting a statue. She's getting a statue. But in the meantime, like this should be like on the coin. Like it should be a coin for this. So I don't know what to. I don't know really what more on that one, but like let me know, who do you guys think were the hottest stars to come out of this for you guys? Who are the players that really kind of stood the test of time with this one and made you go like, yeah, this they're someone to be able to watch. They are one to be able to watch. So yeah, I'd love to hear it. All right, guys, we got one more commercial break, and then we're gonna get to our final thoughts. We got some retirees that are popping in, and I just still want to, let's talk about it a little bit. And so we'll get to that. This is Gift Egbelu with Rugby Swag. Be right back.
All right, I don't want to hold you guys off. I know it's another ad. Watch out now. But I need to tell you guys about Rugby Outlet Mall. Look, this is the official e-commerce store for Rugby Swag Show and for Gift Time Rugby Network. And of course, we want to make sure that we are hooking you up with gear that is absolutely built for you to be able to wear on a day-to-day. Of course, we can do jerseys, and everybody has a jersey, but not everybody wears a jersey every day. But we have the rugby gear for you. Whether it is our FedEx best or our PayPal best, we have unique designs that are going to be fun and desirable for you to represent the way that you need to. And of course, if you guys go to rugbyoutletmall.com and use the code Grow Rugby, we're going to save you 10% off your first order. Hey, please support Rugby Swag Show. And of course, even some of our other stuff, the HBC Rugby Classic, and just general gear and merch for you guys, because hey, I want you guys to have the best, and I definitely appreciate you guys supporting. So definitely go rugbyoutletmall.com, use promo code GROW Rugby, GREAUX Rugby, and you will get 10% off your first order. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and let me let you get back. Cheers.
All right, y'all. So as you guys know, we have a lot of retirees, players that are going to be retiring, that are going to be coming to the end of their era, and especially within Rugby Sevens, where we've really seen a lot of the same players over the course of the last 10 years. To just mention the ones that have announced at this point that I think are significant enough. Perry Baker announced that he would be retiring after this year. Jerry Tuwe, Fiji's player, got 2 golds and a silver in 3 Olympics straight, got Fiji their first ever Olympic medal in history, and was able to repeat that 3 times over. Crazy. Obviously, the great Nia Tapper retiring out this year, ending a great career. Sharni Williams-Small, who has been dominant for Australia for 3 Olympics, basically, will be retiring. Lucy Mulhall-Rock is stepping aside as well. Dominique Dutoit is stepping down for Australia. And then Tyler Nathan Wong-King, a longtime player for New Zealand Black Ferns, they're setting down. And of course, Portia Woodman-Wycliffe is stepping down. Like, this is a very iconic roster. And, I got to say, like, again, this has been the golden era of Rugby Sevens. I don't think that Rugby Sevens has ever seen levels like this. It's never been taken seriously like this. Like, it being allowed in the Olympics really changed up the economy of rugby overall. And I think that's really significant to what we are looking forward to moving forward. And these have been the beasts. These have been the legends of the game. And so, I think they'll all be missed, but there was a few that there's really just 4 I want to really mention specifically. And I'm gonna talk to them. I don't know if they'll ever see this or not, but these 4 were very integral to my career as a rugby journalist and being in rugby media and making moves simply because of what they were able to do at the time whenever made available. So if I get a little emotional, don't hold me to it too badly. I just I gotta as they are heading out, and whatever. So first and foremost, I want to say a big thanks, Portia Woodman at the time, Portia Woodman with Cliff now. 2015, Atlanta Sevens. A lot of people, if you don't remember or don't know, not a whole lot of people were covering the games. And I was still trying to figure out my way through this. I think this is year number 1, number 2, something like that. Me going into following rugby, and I think it was like my first year of really being able to, talk with players at a specific level. If you guys don't know, man, getting interview requests with the New Zealand Rugby Union was no easy task. But at the time, I wanted to, try and get some of the best players. At the time, I think I didn't really know who she was. I just knew that she was a high scorer. And whenever she came and whenever I made the request, she was willing. It was late. I think they were just finishing up dinner, and she was willing to come in. And I really, really wanted to send my appreciation for just absolutely being one of the kindest people. One thing I can say for sure is that her message has been as consistent from day one as it is now. She has always been about her sisters, the players that she's with. She's always been about women empowerment. She's always been about family and just the absolute love and promotion of rugby. I'm going to show our interview from that, a little portion of it. And you guys just bear with me for a little bit on this one. All right.
New Zealand All Blacks women's team was 44 million. I think for myself, it's just to show how much work I've been doing back home in New Zealand, just to show what my family has been doing for me, all the work myself and my sisters have been doing. It's awesome to get this accomplishment, the last performance really we've got a lot of work to do. We know that the first 3 games are our first 3 finals, and we're pretty much 100%. So, when you guys compare, is there any visual process that you guys go through when you're heading before you decide, all right, ready? Do you mean game day or day before or game day? Game day, I think for me, I'm more of a party person. Music day, get out and dance. Some people are a bit different. They like to be in the mind, focus on what they need to do. I can't do that. I do too. But yeah, I'm more of a person to just get out and party or get out and dance. So let me ask you this: what is your top get set hype rugby song? I answer many. I kind of just know about what the girls are listening to in the changing room. But I think one that comes to my mind is like shut. Oh, look, you know what? That's actually a deal. You can't go wrong with the one. You want to get into the movie,
All right, yo. So Yo, that one, it was so, like I said, so appreciated, so admired out of that, and I never forgot it. I never got a chance to be able to do another interview. I hope I can now that she's going into retirement and just be with her family, wife, and kid, and just be able to take the time. But if not, just let it be known, Portia Woodman Wycliffe, I want to thank you so much, Atlanta Sevens. Thank you for being such a great inspiration for the women out here. Thank you for being a game changer for rugby, but most importantly, thank you for being a genuinely good person on and off the field all the time. All the time. Yeah. All right, next up, yo, I want to send it out. This is for Perry Baker, man. Again, Perry Baker is one that I always like to talk about that we, saw. I remember whenever I first saw him in 2013 playing for 1811, playing during the USA Rugby Club Sevens Championships, Sevens tournament, and absolutely boat racing everybody on the side of the road. I think in that case it was New Orleans that was playing against him, and he just completely outran everybody. But his athletic talent has been beyond belief amazing. I think his accomplishments are clearly set. His accolades are set. He is a legend. He deserves a statue in the U.S. I always say that he did not receive the assisted recognition that he should, that we're seeing from like an Ilona or so, and he deserved every little bit of it. But the fact that he's been dedicated every year, come back every year, been dominant every year, played to his best every year, and knowing that we're the same age, even speaks volumes, because I understand, grind. He's got 3 kids, wife, still out here doing it. And I think it's been one of the most amazing things. But that's not the reason why I really want to show my appreciation. I want to show my appreciation because a situation happened this was also in 2015, I think 2015, 2016 or so, at the NACRA, what do you call it? NACRA Olympic qualifier games that happened in Cary, North Carolina. And, this is where the U.S. first qualified for the Olympics for the 2016 in Rio. And, I was doing my interviews, doing my rounds about, and I'd been trying to get one with Perry for a minute, but it just wasn't working. Just the timing wasn't coming together. And so I had one last shot. I think me and my camera guy were able to go where the USA team was literally cleaning up. And I was like, hey, is it possible to get one? And I think the PR guys were, the media guys were just like, no, I don't think we're going to be able to do it because we're about to head out. But this guy, he said, hey, man, no, not even a worry, man. Let me go ahead and do this. And, dude, I've appreciated it since then. Like I said, I've heard nothing but good things. And this one was always significant to me. I felt this was a meaningful moment. And I just want to share, this was the interview. A lot of people, these things are on my YouTube channel to see the whole thing. But again, these are components that I just, I felt like they needed to be addressed. And yeah, check it out.
Here with the Perry Baker, USA won the NACRA championship, qualifying for the Olympics. Perry, thank you so much. It was time to do yelling inside all day. That's what he said, qualified. It was just amazing. It was really good. It's just like, yeah, awesome. And you know what? Everybody knows you had a great journey coming here, working in Tiger Rugby, 1823. You get to see people thought you were spied. Most of us kind of already knew what to expect. So it was showing the world. But, for you, you understand what was the fault of the start of the make your way up. U19 are coming up for, man. What do you have to say to them to keep motivating them, to keep pushing hard in this sport? Just get what we got, man. starting from the bottom, like you said, man. I mean, once you start from the bottom, man, and you just think about where you come from, where you're trying to go, just get it all together, stay with it, man. Because all it takes is one eye to see it, man, and make it come true for you. And, you know, honestly, you know, this wasn't just a singular effort. Both the men and women were able to do it. That's family right there. The guy was screaming on the field. You know, what does it mean with the, you know, Rugby Counts kind of campaign and everything? What does it mean that the women and the men, but mainly the women being able to qualify for this in terms of the goals for rugby? I mean, you get it around here. I mean, the goals of rugby, I mean, it's perfect for both sides to qualify. I mean, the ladies step up and do their job. I mean, pass up to them. I mean, you got more women now want to play rugby, and they're doing something fun to do. But this is a fun game, and I love it. And it just feels good to have both sides qualify to represent our country. And look, last question, we'll let you go rest. We always ask so all our interviews, and you know, it's been a big deep, but you know, if there was any song that you could think of that would reflect your perception of rugby or what Carrie Baker rugby is, you know, what would that song be? Oh man, that's a tough question, man. I mean, man, I don't even know where to go with this one, man. I mean, I like Teddy Bates a lot right now. I mean, because he really started from the bottom, making his way up to the top. Man. So I listen to him a lot. He always yelling out, "Get tired," and I'm really the same thing. I mean, I just take stuff that he said and use to motivate me and give it to them. 2 weeks they can feel it too. Hey, tell them, dude, don't get tired. You already know. That's not a good time. I do get tired all the time. We don't get tired. Hey, Kevin Gates, man. I represent guys. You guys heard it. Harry Baker, don't get tired. This is get tired. And we're out.
All right. So, like I said, you know, I always appreciated that. I want to thank you. Again, these are things that added confidence for my career growth and allowed me to be able to just go more. So, thank you so much, Perry. Thank you very much, Perry, for all you've done. Next up. This one is a little bit looser, you know. Again, this is one that's been at the beginning of the career. Again, Atlanta Sevens, man. This was, I think, 2016 that they had this, where again was trying to still find my legs and people just willing to have the conversation. But Lucy Mulhall Rock, man, from the beginning, again, has been authentic, genuine, and just really down to earth from square one. So. Yeah, man. You know, I gotta show it out. Gotta show it out.
Now, we know that you guys, there's always plenty about the road along with it. So, you know, what is the closing so far? Obviously, say, we get wild, but
All right, y'all. That one was a little bit lower. I thought we had a different copy of that one, but even still, Lucy, want to thank you so much. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your leadership with the Irish team and the commitment and just being a generally awesome person overall. Really appreciate everything that you've been able to do, and thank you for it. And last but absolutely not least, is one person that still connect with and genuinely feel like it's not just a colleague but a friendship that's building, and that's to Naya Tapper. And Naya's different because I remember whenever my guy Ryan Flynn first brought Naya to my attention back when she was at UNC, and we did an article on her, and it was just like, oh, who is this? Who is this woman that's like absolutely burning everybody across the field? It's just come a straight swagger. I really got to say, being put on us, being brought to the attention to the UNC, it's like, oh, she should be for the national team. And then to know that she did end up picked up was just like, okay, at least they know they're doing something right. And then, you start to talk and you listen, and it was just you continue to see the build of like who this person is and this personality that's having a chance to bud, that's trying to find their way in, but literally it's like it's a star. They're a star in themselves. And I think 2019, I friended her on Facebook, I think shortly after. I think this was like 2017, 2018, 2016, 2017. 2016, 2017, always was talking back and forth through there. We were, it wasn't until 2019 that I got to meet her really in person and just genuine online as she is in person. And then just being able to connect and keep up and see the development, and then have the chance to talk with her even more. And so, Naya, I got to say, man, I thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for the conversations. Thank you so much for what you've been able to bring to the sport and what you've been able to bring to rugby. I want to show you guys, obviously, our interview. You guys can check this out on the Facebook page as well, too. But yeah, just a quick snippet because running a little low on time.
So I didn't have the opportunity. I didn't take the opportunity to play them. We had a teacher who was white male, and he was working at a predominantly minority Black Hispanic school. So it was weird in general for rugby to be at that school with just how rugby was looked at in the past of it being the majority European sport. I grew up playing football, so when I learned that it was at the high school, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. It'd be something I'd be interested in, but because I was so dedicated to trying to building that moment, and because of the stereotype of rugby being such an injury sport, my coach didn't think it was a good idea. So I didn't start playing until I got to University of Chapel Hill in college. I went there for academics. So I kind of missed the sport aspect, so I decided to join the club rugby team that we had at USC. I played for them for the whole 4 years, but my first 2 months playing, just being athletically skilled and speed, it put me above a lot of the other players in terms of I didn't really need to know the skill thing. So just in that aspect, I was invited to rugby camp in California. And specifically for speed, even when I went to that camp, it was like, okay, how fast will she? We'll teach her everything else. But because I had just started school, I just wanted to focus on finishing that. My plan was never to be a professional rugby athlete. It was just something to keep me active, something to be in a friend group. So playing for those 4 years was amazing. College was great. But eventually, as I continue to get better in the sport and see the different things that rugby could get me into. I was invited to another camp again in my last year of college. So I went to that camp, was offered a contract, and decided to take it. So I had to miss my last year of college, my last semester of college on campus. So I finished it online while living in Chula Vista, training at the center. So I was there for 4 months under the great coach, Julie, and after being with her, we got a new coach, Richie. Worked with him for a little bit, but he noticed the flaws in that I was kind of a one-trick pony. I was only fast and didn't have the skills to be up there with those other girls who had worked so hard to get there.
All right. You guys can watch the whole thing online, but again, I just want to say thank you, Naya. Thank you for the time. I look forward to seeing your book, and I look forward to seeing what you do for the future. You deserve every bit of goodness that you get, and thank you for all you've been able to do. And for the rest of y'all, I just want to say, thank you guys so much for being a part of the show today. It was a long one, but I really did enjoy this. It's a great Olympics. And next week, we're back on it. We got a whole new set of games news. Everything's kicking back in. I hope you guys enjoy yourself. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And most importantly, I hope that you are happy. I hope that you are healthy. And I hope that you know that you are truly highly favored. Until next time, y'all. Cheers.